Michigan State gets their transfer receiver they've been looking for this whole spring portal window. Finally, Alante Brown, welcome home. Then, hey, who are the top 5 transfers for Michigan State football so far this offseason? And then, well, no, we are not done talking about Penn State playing Michigan State at Ford Field. No, of course not, we're not done. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you so much for kicking off your week with us here at Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week. And this is going to be a busy week here. We're going to get to the important dates coming up here in a hot second. But first, hey, please rate, review, and subscribe to this here YouTube channel or podcast. Any way you are consuming this, hey, thanks a lot. Really do appreciate you. And also, a happy belated Memorial Day to everyone out there. Hope everyone had a beautiful weekend. If you were like me and you stayed here in the great state of Michigan, just blessed with just incredible weather. But, more importantly, if you're a member of the military, you know anyone that's there, anyone close to you that is, especially happy belated Memorial Day to all you guys and what you guys do. I know we have at least 2 listeners that are active military members, so about half our listenership right there. So want to reach out to those guys and anyone else as well. Thank you guys so much for all that you do for this country and to let us just blab and listen about sports, as the free country we are. So thank you very much. Just had to throw that out there. And sorry it's coming belated, but, hopefully better late than never. Let's get to, this is how we're going to set today's show up. We're kicking off the week. It's been a while since we've talked. It's a long weekend, but let's just look ahead to the rest of this week because we do have some important dates here for our Michigan State basketball and football Spartans. Wednesday at midnight. It's a big day for Michigan State basketball, really any college basketball team, because anyone that entered their name in the NBA draft, they have to pull it out by 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday in order to retain their college eligibility going into next season. All right, hey, it goes without saying, that's going to be pretty important for AJ Hoggard, for Jaden Akins here, but also, too, just to see what else is out there in the Big Ten. Like, will Zach Edey come back to Purdue? There's a report that there are some scouts saying that he could be a late first-round pick, which is a far cry from where he was before the whole combine process started, but I digress. We'll celebrate that if it does happen later on, or like Jalen Hood-Schifino at Indiana, Bryce Sensabaugh with Ohio State. There's a whole list of guys in the Big Ten that still have their names in the NBA draft that went through the combine process and have to decide by Wednesday night if they want to come back. Now, of course, many of you guys already know this about Jaden Akins and AJ Hoggard. They were not invited to the combine, but they still have been doing individual workouts with teams. From all things considered, we should be expecting good news here by Wednesday. Hey, hopefully, maybe even by the time you're listening to this, they've already announced their return. But from everything I know and from everything the people that I talk to that know a lot, they're expecting both these guys to come back. It would be... to put it bluntly, it would be insane for them to keep their name in the NBA draft without an NBA combine invite. I'm sure it has happened. Can't imagine there's a lot of success stories off of that, but hey, everyone's entitled to do what is best for them, but I like to think that what's best for them is to come back by Wednesday. All right, another important date here is also Wednesday, and this is more of a fun date. This is trivial in the grand scheme of things, but according to The Athletic, hey, on Wednesday is when the big networks are going to announce football times and networks for games that happen from week 0 to week 3. CMU, we already pretty much know that's going to be a night game on Friday. The Richmond game going on week 2. I don't know if that's going to be a Fox primetime game or an NBC primetime game. We might have to wait a little bit longer to get the channel in time for that, but could be on the radar for that as well. But hey, week 3, as we all know, Washington, the top 10, if not top 5 Huskies will be coming into Spartan Stadium. We will know the network and the time for that as well. And God, it's such a stupid thing to look forward to. But if you're a sick puppy like I am, and you love anything about college football, yeah, sometimes there's a kickoff time that will get you fired up for that. So Wednesday, keep it tuned to that as well. And then this weekend, That's right, gang. We are kicking off official visit season. We're going to get way more into the weeds with it later this week with Ryan O'Blennis of Rivals. That is right, Spartans Illustrated. Go subscribe to those fine folks over there. But we're going to get more into the meat and potatoes of official visit season, especially this weekend. But, hey, as we know right now, there are 8 4-stars that are slated to visit Michigan State's campus this week. There's also one 3-star tight end, Eric Karner, who might as well be a 4-star with his offer sheet. I mean, he's got Alabama high up there. He has Iowa high up there, which is basically tight end U at this point. But big opening weekend for June official visit season for our Michigan State football Spartans. And speaking of those football Spartans, okay, we just looked ahead at the rest of this week. Let's rewind the clock back to last week. You may have already heard this news from the transfer portal, or hey, maybe if you got a head start on your Memorial Day weekend, maybe you're already slugging back Miller Lights on the boat. Who knows? But Alante Brown, a.k.a. Cadillac Brown, if I do say, 6-foot receiver, 190-pound receiver from Nebraska, commits to Michigan State. He's got 2 years of eligibility left on him, and last year for the Cornhuskers started in 10 games over there. 16 catches, 191 yards, and, you know, those aren't the greatest numbers of all time. Nebraska was 11th in pass attempts in the Big Ten, so maybe that skews things a little bit, but yeah, look, it's a good pickup. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. You're not going to go out and get a Justin Jefferson in the spring transfer portal window more times than not. But this is a very important addition to this offense going into next year, especially with the loss of Jaden Reed, especially with the loss of Keon Coleman. And there's no secret that the staff was pretty hell-bent on getting a receiver in the portal in the spring window. They went after Tyler Harrell. All right, speed demon from Louisville. He picks Miami. All right, Jaden Walker from Grand Valley State. He picks Texas A&M. AJ Henning. Conflicting reports on how hard MSU pursued AJ Henning. He was a Michigan expat, but he picks Northwestern in the very end. And Michigan State did offer him at the start. And then, well, they were also pretty hot after Montana Lamonius Craig, the Colorado spring game star, who eventually picked Arizona. But hey, Alante Brown was a guy that Michigan State went after very early. They were one of his early offers when he announced his intentions to enter this the transfer portal this spring. So they got their guy they've had an eye on for a long time here, and it's an important piece to this offense because what Alante Brown brings to the table is that speed. This is what we've been talking about for the whole spring transfer portal window is who do you want to see Michigan State go after? All right, defensive secondary depth. That'd be great. All right. They've had their hand at that, but also on the offensive side of the ball, look, they've done a pretty good job here, especially in the winter window, but in the spring, especially now that Keon Coleman has left, this is a whole new rebuild of the receiver room. You got some pretty good guys in there. Trey Mosley, Tyrell Henry, Antonio Gates Jr., Christian Fitzpatrick, Jerron Glover, who I've been hearing great things about so far in the offseason. Montori Foster as well, but while all those guys are solid receivers, you need the straight line speed guy. You need the guy that's going to take the top off the defense, if you will, or the guy that could do the whole bubble screen game, the zero screen game, and just catch the ball and run, bite off a few yards. And that's what Alante Brown offers. He offers that speed that changes the way that your passing game can be. Now, this is the most extreme example of this. I want everyone to listen to me carefully. I'm not comparing him to this player, but the idea in theory with a lot of offenses is that, hey, you got the one straight line speed guy, just like in the NFL with Tyreek Hill, whether he was doing it with the Dolphins, whether he was doing it with the Chiefs. You make those safeties turn around and just run after you. And that way, everyone below you, like your Jaden Waddles, they can run your crossing routes, if you will. It's pretty, the most elementary way to think about it is just have that defense go as far back as possible, have all your other receivers do the under routes like Trey Mosley has been great at his career, like Tyrell Henry is expected to excel in his career. So again, that's just like the most extreme example of what it's supposed to look like here. But yeah, when you have the speed guy like Alante Brown, that's what you're open to. All right. You actually have a guy in this roster now that safeties are going to be a little concerned about, being like, all right, I'm going to start my backpedaling a little early here, making sure I don't get burned by this guy. And so that is going to be important. Again, hey, the 6 guys just named right there, all fine players, but hey, it's not just me, the stooge with the microphone and a webcam saying this. It's pretty apparent the coaching staff needed this too because they have been after a receiver in the portal, and now you can take a rest and move on to the next position. Who's that going to be? Who's to say? Maybe a young linebacker with some eligibility left. I mean, that's a kind of thin room. You could always use more secondary depth on defense, but yeah, that was a position of importance for the staff, and right before Memorial Day weekend, they crossed that off. Welcome home, Alante Brown. That's right, a former commit for the 2019 class. Of course, decommitted, went to Nebraska. But yeah, man, former four-star kid. Why not? Let's give it a shot. See what happens. Nice little change of scenery for Alante. So we will be getting into the top 5 transfers of the portal season. But first, hey, need to talk your ear off about Built Bar. That's right, gang. We are looking for the best tasting protein bar in the land. And hey, if you were like me, you enjoyed some Built products over the weekend. I did my action on the golf course, worked in a Built Bar, worked in a Built Puff. That's right. It was a double Built day for your boy on the links, but they powered me through the finish line of this 18-hole scramble, and thank God, because boy, was it starting to get draining out there. But when you have Built products that have 130 calories, just 4 grams of sugar, but a whopping 17 grams of protein, that's right, you're not feeling weighed down. You're not feeling all jittery off all the sugar. You are just feeling that pure protein that the tasty Built products get you. And hey, in order to get your hands on these, there is a myriad of ways to do so. Let's say you're at Sam's Club. All right, beautiful store. Go get yourself a 13 bar box of the hit flavors Brownie Batter Puff and Churro Puff, my personal favorite. Or head to Walmart, or hey, just go to Built.com. That's right, the old-fashioned Built.com to stock up on your Built bars. Gang, it has been once again a busy transfer portal window for Michigan State, and honestly, like in the grand scheme of things, in the Mel Tucker era, probably still the quietest portal window that we've seen here. I mean, this man is about the action in the portal, and hey, you know what? For better or for worse, that's how Michigan State's roster is going to be built this year. A little less than it was like that first year he came here. I mean, that was a man that walked into a building after he was hired in February, looked around the room and said, uh-oh, this is not a roster that can compete for a Big Ten title. So a lot of overhaul at the beginning, but still, in this day and age in college football, you're always going to have at least one toe in the transfer portal pool. So let's take a look at the top 5 transfer portal additions for Michigan State. And this is going back to the winter portal as well. Guys like number 5, tight end out of Boise State, a man with seemingly 17 years of college experience already, Tyneil Hopper. Now, this guy makes the top 5 list because, look, he could be a starter and an instant impact guy. If you want to look to the spring game, he started in the spring game. Again, not a lot of stock you could put into that for most people. But if you're one of those people, yeah, sure, go for it. But I think at the end of the day, no matter if he, quote unquote, starts or what have you, he's going to be getting a lot of run. All right, Tyler Hunt, God, I hate to say it, gone, and that pains me. So you have Malik Carr as your pass catcher out of that tight end position, but with Tyler Hunt gone, you need the guy that's going to be blocking here in that tight end position. And Tyneil Hopper, that was his role pretty much at Boise State. Can he catch? Sure. Yeah, he's got 2 hands and 2 arms. He can technically catch the ball, but he is more so for that blocking aspect. And in what could be a run-heavy offense this year for Michigan State, yeah, you're going to need that guy. And with the experience as well, getting that grown adult in the room, yeah, I like Tyneil Hopper at number 5. Now, you're talking about grown adults here. I look no further than a number 4, and maybe I'm prisoner of the moment, but I like to think I'm not. This is a recent portal addition this spring, Jalen Sami. Jalen Sami out of Colorado. This is a guy that was back-to-back Pac-12 honorable mention. And look, Michigan State has done a fantastic job with defensive tackle depth. If you go back to the winter, they landed Dre Butler. They landed Jarrett Jack. All right, these are guys that can play behind Derek Harmon and Simeon Barrow. Give these guys a break every once in a while, or Lord help us if it's anything like last year. And you need the depth because of injuries. Well, Dre Butler and Jarrett Jack was a great place to start, but Jalen Sami at 6'6", 330 pounds. I said this when he transferred here to Michigan State. The minute he steps off that plane, when he lands and gets onto campus, he's already the biggest guy in the defensive tackle room. Again, 6'6", 330. This is a run-stopping defensive tackle in a conference, yeah, that calls for a lot of run stopping. All right, this is a guy that's going to hog up a block, 2 blockers on the offensive line just because he is that mammoth of a person and that destructive as well. So you let the other guys behind you, another good run stopper like Cal Halliday in the linebacker position, guys like Jacoby Windman. You give them a head start here when you have Jalen Sami out there. So that's why I have him at number 4. That's right. A great portal pickup for the spring season. Now, the other 3 guys, we are going to be going back to the winter portal cycle. And number 3, you guys might hit me with a technicality here because he could be considered a recruit. It's a junior college transfer. You guys already know where I'm going with this. It's Keyshawn Blackstock, offensive lineman. Now, where exactly in the offensive line? I don't know. That's kind of the beautiful part of it, though, is just how versatile of a guy this is. He can play that right tackle position if you need him. He can play the interior offensive line. And look, Michigan State is looking pretty good in the offensive line right now, right? Okay, JD Duplain, Nick Samac, guys that have been here since the John L. Smith days, seemingly, all right? All conference, honorable mention guys, 3rd-team guys, depending on who you look at. But JD Duplain, Nick Samac, great place to start. Gino Vandenmark, by all accounts, on schedule to have an impact, the former 4-star recruit. Finally, here in East Lansing, also on the outside, Brandon Baldwin, who came along quite nicely at the end of the season at left tackle, and then Spencer Brown, who had a full season under his belt at right tackle as well. That's right there. That's a fine starting 5. That is a mighty fine starting 5. Now, where does Blackstock fit into the equation? Again, he could bounce anywhere. Maybe he takes that right tackle position from Spencer Brown, or maybe just like we were talking about with Tyneil Hopper, like, yeah, he might not be a guy that quote unquote starts immediately, but he's going to get a starter amount of reps here throughout the game. He's the gadget that you could throw in pretty much anywhere on the line. And if you haven't learned in the last few years how important offensive line play is, then I don't know if you'll ever learn. I sure learned plenty, and I learned that versatility can be a great thing as well. Keyshawn Blackstock was one of the top offensive line prospects in junior college. He had all sorts of great programs after him. Michigan State reeled him in. Speaking of another guy with a lot of great programs after him, we're going to go back to the trenches. We're going to flip it to the defensive side, though. It is Tunmise Adeleye. That's right, the former top 40 recruit out of high school. Spent enough time for a cup of coffee at Texas A&M before entering the transfer portal, but this is a guy that you could just throw anywhere on the defensive line. Now, probably to start the season, that'll be off the edge. All right, you got Chris Bogle on one side, you got Tunmise Adeleye on the other side. Or this is where it gets fun. We just talked about versatility with Keyshawn Blackstock. We got some versatility, too, with good old Tunmise over here as well. I want you to close your eyes, everyone. I want you to dream. I want you to dream of a 3rd and 11, a passing down, a surefire passing down. And you can roll out a beautiful package of, let's say, Chris Bogle. All right, you get Zion Young on that line. You get Tunmise Adeleye in the middle as well. And then for the 4th guy, maybe Ken Talley. All right, that's another former 4-star guy. He didn't play last year. He transferred to Penn State a little late, but where's he going to play on the defensive line? That's been a question that a lot of people are asking. How about one of those, what they call NASCAR packages, where you just get 4 guys that can rush that passer? Tunmise is going to be a staple in those packages, and he could wreak some havoc on that as well. So that's why I have him at number 2 on the best transfer portal additions this offseason. A numero uno. Swear I'm not just saying this because he joined this podcast not too long ago, but my goodness gracious, this could be a big year for the run game, and it is going to be a big year for the run game because I think Nathan Carter is really good. All right, but enough of what I have to say. The whispers or borderline shouts that you are hearing from Scandalera Center about people just watching the practice, you know, they are coming in loud and crystal clear. It is apparent that MSU just didn't get like some running back in the portal here, but they got a guy that is going to be a beast in the run game. Now, let's tamper expectations here. Is he going to be Kenneth Walker? No. Kenneth Walker's a generational prospect at running back. Okay, let's all just pump the brakes here a little bit. He can still be really, really, really good. He can still be great here. Look, and speaking of great, let's talk about the complete opposite of that last year for Michigan State. Last year, our Spartans were in stuff rate, opportunity rate, and power success rate. They were beyond the top 100 in the nation. Really quick, stuff rate is the percentage of plays that get stuffed behind the line of scrimmage. All right, MSU outside the top 100 for that. Opportunity rate, How many times are runs going for at least 4 yards? MSU, beyond 100 in that. And then power success rate. This is what we banged our head on the drywall over last year. That's 3rd and 2nd, 3rd and 1, or 4th and 2nd or shorter than that. You know, short yardage situations, percentage of the time you got the first down, you guessed it, MSU, outside the top 100 in that. Just look at a picture of Nathan Carter. This guy has 0.001% body fat, but enough of what he looks like as a running back. Well, let's let the stats tell you the story too. 65 carries, 405 yards. That's 6.2 yards per carry last year in 4 games at UConn. And also before he went out with a shoulder injury. You've heard me say it 100 times. You will hear me say it 100 more times before kickoff. He was the leader in the country at yards after contact before that injury knocked him out for the whole season. So Michigan State, they had a horrible issue with running the ball last year, especially in short yardage situations. They got him short up with Nathan Carter. Also, let's go down some honorable mentions right now because Jaron Mangum might have something to say about that as well. He can be a short yardage specialist as well. How about Alante Brown, the guy that we just talked about? I mean, what if the straight line speed is the missing piece for the offense? I mean, hey, it's not to say he has to burn up like, 800 yards of offense. Like, if he's just that gadget that is enough to distract the defense too and let other guys cook, I mean, that's going to be an underrated pickup as well. Samar Melvin or Marion Smith in the defensive backfield. And Lordy, if Jonathan Kim from North Carolina can just kick field goals at a 75% clip, Mr. Kim, you might as well go ahead and move up to number 1 for me for biggest transfer portal pickup. We need someone that could just kick the ball through the uprights this year, for God's sakes. So there we go. That's the top 5. If you guys disagree, hey, comment below on YouTube. Hit me up at lockedonspartans@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of the top 5 list and any other top 5 Tuesday list ideas. Hey, hit them up or hit us up at lockedonspartans@gmail.com. Now, hitting us up at lockedonspartans@gmail.com are 2 listeners that had mailbag questions. How about that for a sentence? It's late. It's been a long weekend. About the game moving to Ford Field. This is as fired up I've seen this fan base against each other since the Ben Carter, Jaren Jackson game back in, what was that, 2018, I think it was? Yeah, whatever it was. Have not seen a civil war amongst the fan base ever since that game happened. Ever since they've announced this Ford Field game, it has been a civil war amongst the fan base. I go back to the weekend here. Me and my dad are screaming at each other about this. Great relationship with my father. Love my dad, but we see eye to eye on many things in life. I'm telling you, screaming at him across the table on the patio. It was a great scene. Just 2 very rational, healthy adults just arguing about what's important in life, you know. But yeah, he's very against it. I'm very for it. If you listen to our episode before the weekend, but hey, you know what? A lot of people had a lot of thoughts on this. Let's go to emailer Ben right now to get the party started to round out this 3rd segment. Just got around to listening to the episode with Odell about the Penn State game being moved to Ford Field. Very sorry to hear that, Ben. One thing I absolutely disagree with you about is the, quote, affordability. I am a season ticket holder and live an hour north of Muskegon, so I already have a 2.5-hour drive to the stadium on game days. God, you are a true fan. So adding another 2+ hours, a hotel room, food, and just the ticket price. Well, there you have it. The price of tickets is going to be expensive due to the amount of people that live in Metro Detroit that will want to go to the game and have easy travel for the Penn State fans. Being a fan of MSU for years, they will price the tickets as high as possible. I'm very excited to see the price of the tickets, if I could just interject that really quick. Anyway, Ben also writes, the place will be overrun with Penn State fans if MSU is having a bad year, moving the 2nd biggest home game of the year and not allowing season ticket holders to exchange tickets for ones at Ford Field is a misstep. I get that you live in Metro Detroit and it is easy for you to get to the game, but it is not for thousands of other MSU fans and for a person like me, fans who are losing a home game that they already paid for to have right. They have the right to be mad. Thank you very much for that email, first and foremost. Yes, I do live in Metro Detroit, so I may or may not have a bias here, but also I don't know if I'll go to the game because I will have a very, very, very young 2nd child in my life at that point. So I would like to get out of the house, but I don't know. Who's to say? But anyway, let's get down to brass tacks here. I will say this, what I do agree with. Let's start with this one. That is an interesting thing about just automatically refunding the MSU fans for that ticket, which, I think benefits the season ticket holders. Usually those are very cheap tickets to get. You would not get back what you would make on this refund should you sell your ticket on StubHub for $7. Anyway, regardless, I would have at least given MSU fans the chance, the option to whether, hey, get the refund or keep your ticket, and this is where we're going to place you in the stadium. And I know that, when the tickets go on sale, season ticket holders are going to get the priority to buy first or what have you, but still, I think just the option would have been nice. Also, too, I want to reiterate this again. Two groups of people get to complain. Ben is in one of those groups right there. Anyone that is on the west side of the state, I got no argument for you whatsoever. I got nothing to say to you as to why you should be thrilled about this. I would be very upset, especially Ben already traveling 2.5 hours for these games. I mean, yeah, that's a bummer. No way to slice that. There's no lipstick to put on that pig. It sucks. It does. And the second group of people, anyone that owns a restaurant or business in East Lansing, I can't say to you, hey, suck it up. Like, no, that sucks. That truly does. Like that. And those are the only two groups of people I think truly get to complain. Now, on the Penn State fan portion, come on, you think I'm going to read this whole email and not push back on a few things here? For God's sakes, I just got in a screaming match about it over the weekend. It was a beautiful weekend, too. The sun is shining, and here I am just red in the face talking. What are you talking about? We're getting the home game taken away from us. Because, look, the Penn State game, or I guess the Penn State fans, this is still a 6-hour drive from State College, from Happy Valley. I mean, this is still asking a lot of Penn State fans. Now, there are parts of Pennsylvania that are just a 3.5-hour drive from Detroit. I scoots it up a little bit, but I've heard a lot of refrain that like, oh man, Penn State, this is a neutral game now. Like Penn State fans are going to come over. Like this is still asking a lot from Penn State fans to drive over. What is it? 4 hours if they live halfway, 6 hours. I mean, that is asking a lot. And also the whole, like, we lost a home game thing I kept hearing. Like, guys, again, who do you think is going to be the majority fan base here? It is in Metro Detroit around a holiday weekend where a lot of people travel back home. There's already 100,000 MSU alumni in this base. Like this, it's not like they moved this game up to Honor, Michigan, and where there's 13 people in the city. Like it's a pretty densely populated area with a lot of state fans. And again, you've heard me talk up and down about this. This is not a game that's heavily attended anyway, and that's why I bring up the second biggest home game stance, which you could absolutely make an argument for it. Yeah, from importance, yeah, sure, like the whole conference battle, yeah, but like, will MSU be a factor in that this late in the season? I probably would say no, but that's not. You didn't hear me say that. We're not going to be that negative, but for at least a fan participation, like it's not the second biggest home game, but let's shelve that right now. I think the second biggest home game actually is the Washington game. To put it bluntly, I think getting momentum that early in the season, I think if you win that game, you're going to shore up your quarterback competition that early in the season too. And also just like, it would be nice to see these boys actually take a game that they should not win early in the season, because they didn't have one of those games last year where they won a game they should not have won. Yeah, I guess you can make an argument for the Illinois game, but at the end of the day, it's Illinois, guys. Come on. I mean, so, yeah, I think the Washington game's a little bigger. But, again, the difference between 2 and 3, I'm not going to split hairs with you there. So, yeah, I'm sorry, Ben. I genuinely am. It sucks. I am. Matt C. also writes in, and Matt C. have had many battles over the years. But Matt C. is a great listener, beautiful person. So I will, of course, do the very thing he's going to ask me not to do. He starts out the email by saying, don't you dare support MSU giving up a home game to move to that dump Ford Field. Well, Matt C., I got some news for you, Buster Brown. I will support this game. He goes down the list. He gives 5 points. Number 1, it's screw season ticket holders. Most MSU fans don't live near Detroit, and who wants to travel to Detroit over Thanksgiving? It's not too bad. I mean, you guys are acting like East Lansing is 85 and sunny with palm trees over Thanksgiving weekend. Like, this is a drive we've done many a times every single year. Number 2, the tailgating in Detroit is awful, so it ruins the game day experience. I'm sorry. Hard pause there. If you've ever been to the tailgates Thanksgiving weekend at East Lansing, there are 5 tents up. The weather's always miserable. Detroit, find a restaurant. Find a bar. It'll be great. There's plenty of them downtown. It'll be quite the atmosphere. I can promise you that. Number 3, if the game doesn't decide the East, the stadium will be half empty if we are fighting for a bowl game. Absolute ghost town. Now that I do 100% agree with. I'm not saying that it's a great idea to move it to Ford Field because it'll be a sellout. I don't think it'll be a sellout at all. But you know what else isn't a sellout that weekend? The game when it's played in East Lansing. So Lord forbid we just try something different. On a Friday night, when you are the only game going on at that time, is going to be great publicity. And hey, look, it's a stale atmosphere to end the season in Spartan Stadium. Let's shake it up. All right, it's just moving to Ford Field. Again, we're not moving to SoFi out in Los Angeles. It's just an 80-minute drive over to Detroit. Anyway, number 4, it gives Penn State the advantage since they have the talent advantage and now get to play on a fast track indoors. We don't win that game in 2021 if it was at Ford Field. That might be true, actually. There might be some credence to that. You know, Jahan Dodson probably goes off for 300 receiving yards in that game if it's played on a turf field against MSU secondary that year. And he also writes, we sure as hell don't beat the Saquon team in 2017 if the game was at Ford Field as well. Michigan State had top 10 run defense that year. Maybe they beat Saquon Barkley. Who's to say? We'll never know. But number 5, ultimate little bro move by Haller and Tuck. They better come out 3-0 or I'm openly rooting against them for a terrible year so all these clowns can be fired. God, ending that one on an exclamation point, Nat C. First of all, hey, really quick, no one's getting fired this year. I'm sorry. Unless bodies are found on Tucker's front lawn and each body has a property of Alan Haller tattoo on their forehead, like with this buyout Mel Tucker has, no one's getting fired until like 2026. So we're in this marriage for a while here, no matter what happens. But I don't think it's a little brother move. The Big Ten is in a really hard spot with these TV contracts that Kevin Warren left untied before he walked out the door. A few favors need to be asked for a few schools. Ohio State is doing a night primetime game in November. Yeah, like, and I keep hearing the argument like, oh, would Ohio State give away a home game? No, but they also don't have a problem selling their stadium out. I mean, that's it. Like, hey, Ohio State wouldn't do this. Yeah, Ohio State also wouldn't go 7-6, 7-6, 2-8, 10 or 11-2, and then 5-7 in a 5-year span. All right, like if I could just play that card, like they also wouldn't do that. So yeah, we just gotta just move a game 80 miles down the field, have an MSU majority in the stands, and just play it. I know it sucks. Hopefully the show didn't suck for you guys, though. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in to kick off your week here. Hopefully it's a short week for you guys if you do work the Tuesday to Friday schedule. But hey, gang, again, a big week coming up. A lot of news. You know where to find us whenever it drops. Locked on Spartans, your team of green and white every single day. Love you all. Go green.